Zoom engagement tracker. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, awesome. Before we get started on the do now, I am going to pause the screen so you guys can pause Desmo so you can track my screen. I made a mistake yesterday when I made an announcement about the mid-quarter exam. Your guys' mid-quarter exam is going to be Monday. It is going to be a regular 5-document DBQ, and you'll have the entire class period to complete it. So it's going to be Monday, first thing. Today at 9 or 10 a.m., you're going to have a study guide go live on Google Classroom. Sorry, 1 second. So you're gonna have a study guide go live on Google Classroom. It's about 10 key terms, and you just need to do the definition for them. These are key terms that you're going to need to know to be successful on the mid-quarter exam. So please do it. If you complete the study guide, you'll get 5% added to your final MQA grade. So if you get a 80%, if you do the study guide, you'll get an 85. So absolutely worth doing because you'll be able to use it on the exam and it's going to help your grade. If you have any questions about the mid-quarter exam, please let me know. Again, it will be Monday. So you have a few days to prepare. Awesome. Okay, now that I have made that announcement, we're going to go ahead and unpause Desmos and send you guys down to the do now. Do now is slide 3. I'll go ahead and restrict us there so that we can all be there. Awesome. Cool. You guys are going to have 4 minutes to read this historical interpretation by a historian and answer the question on the right-hand side. 4 minutes to complete this. Chat me if you have any questions. Go ahead and get started. I'm putting the link to the Desmos in the chat one more time. Awesome. Thank you, Kamaya, for your urgency. 3 more minutes. So what this question is asking is, what does this guy think about the deal? Does he think it's good? Does he think, or does he think it's bad? Bad, and why does he think it's bad? So it's in your program. And it excluded millions of Americans. So what does that mean? If you say the problem with the deal is it excluded millions of Americans. What does it mean that it excludes millions of Americans? What's that? What does exclude? So when they're not included. So why is that a problem with the deal? Does it help everybody? No. Awesome responses I'm seeing so far. 1 more minute. Hey, Alexis. 30 more seconds to finish the do now. Seeing some awesome responses from Eddie, Caleb, Mela, Kamaya, Sierra, Shakim, really thorough response. Awesome job, Giovanni. Awesome. Kamaya, can you unmute and share? What is Bernstein's concern with the New Deal?
Bernstein's view of both acts was that they were limited reform and limited change, as it excluded majority of Americans and only benefited some and didn't deserve the praise and hype that they received.
Awesome. Yes, that is the biggest concern with the New Deal that many historians have, and we discussed the other day in our lecture notes. So if we can go ahead and scroll down to slide 4 with today's main inquiry. Thank you for the urgency. I see us hopping on over to slide 4. Today's main inquiry is, why are Americans divided over the passing of the Social Security Act in 1935? Before we get started with our documents, I want you to brainstorm. What are 2 to 3 outside evidence terms that we think would help us in an essay on the Social Security Act? 1 minute to brainstorm these terms or these ideas. Go ahead and get started. Awesome, I'm seeing the New Deal, unemployment, Great Depression and the stock market crash. Some explanation that not everybody's going to benefit from Social Security. Ooh, fireside chats, that's another good one. 10 more seconds to get those last terms in. Love seeing everybody adding to their list based off of what they hear from their other classmates. Awesome. Love the diving in with outside evidence. As we've discussed many, many times, this is going to be our biggest push before the mid-quarter exam on Monday and the IA and the AP exam. Continuing to work with outside evidence and contextualization terms to make sure we get as many points as possible when you guys are sitting there both on Monday, in the IA in several weeks, and in the AP exam. We're now going to transition over to the documents. For today's documents, I'm going to ask that you guys work on POV and significant statement. The significant statement, again, is the answer to the question, why are Americans divided over the Social Security Act? So in your significant statement, you're going to tell me why this person does not like the Social Security Act or why they might support it. Make sure you're filling in the POV statement. We have 4 documents today, so you're going to have 13 minutes. I'm going to restrict us to documents 1 through 4, and periodically I'll shrink that to make sure we're moving along. If you have any questions, feel free to chat me. Right now you have 13 minutes to complete these annotations. I love the urgency on POV I'm seeing already. Go ahead and get started. Awesome. Love the thoroughness that I'm seeing in the POV corner. I love explaining who FDR is. Again, for your significance statement, why does this person support or not like the Social Security Act? Seeing an awesome start to some significant statements already. I'm gonna pause this very, very quickly. If you guys can track Zoom, we have 10 minutes left. I just wanna make sure I make this clear because I see a short misconception in the annotations. The Social Security Act was passed in 1935. So that's at the end of FDR's first term. This is not part of his first 100-day legislation. So the first 100 days was in 1932 and 33. The Social Security Act comes a couple years into his term. So think about what kind of authority he's gonna have as we go through. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear as we go through the rest. The Social Security Act is about halfway through the Great Depression. Okay, go ahead and get started. 10 more minutes left. I'm also going to copy and paste the main inquiry into the chat. Again, why are Americans divided over the Social Security Act? Eight and a half minutes left. I'm going to edit our pacing screen to be documents 2 through 4. Merits to Kamaya for including in her POV why somebody from the NAACP might not appreciate the Social Security Act. Six and a half minutes left. In 1 minute, I'm going to restrict us to documents 3 and 4. Is this the diet? Just chips? Is this how you're living right now? I'm a little jealous, not gonna lie. 15 more seconds, and I'm gonna send us on to document 3. Okay, I'm restricting us to documents 3 and 4. Four and a half more minutes. Seeing some awesome thorough POVs, including not just who was writing it, but who it was written to. In 1 minute, I'm going to restrict us to document 4. So even if you can't write a significant statement in a full sentence, make sure you have some significant notes on document 3. Just give me 1 second. I just need to make sure there's nobody in here. Okay, closing access to document 3 in 30 seconds. Yes, Eddie, you can go. "15 seconds to finish your thoughts on document 3 before I restrict us." Okay. I'm going to add some time to make sure we can at least read document 4, 3 minutes to finish reading and annotating document 4, and then we'll come back together for discourse. "90 more seconds to finish your annotations on document 4. "40 more seconds to finish up." That is time. Go ahead and take 10 seconds to finish up your thoughts. I'm going to pause your screens and I'm going to have you guys track Zoom. Just give me one moment to start sharing. On Zoom, you can see that I have clipped out 4 of the exemplar POV corners from today's lesson. So, looking at these POV corners, take 1 minute into the chat. What about these corners is so thorough and helpful when annotating documents? 1 minute to stop and jot into the Zoom chat. What is so exemplary about these POV corners that helps when annotating a document? Awesome. Thank you, Giovanni and Mela in the chat. Ooh, awesome, Skyanne. Thank you. 10 more seconds. Okay, go ahead and send in whatever you have stop and jotted into the chat. Awesome. Can I hear from Kamaya and Skyanne? Why are these POV corners helpful when annotating documents?
These point of view corners are helpful when annotating documents because they go on a deeper level of understanding who the person is and like how they might take the Social Security Act.
I said that it connects the person to the main inquiry.
Awesome. So the part of what Kamaya and Skyanne that I want us to focus on is the connection to the inquiry. Today's main inquiry is, why are Americans divided over the Social Security Act? So by including their bias or their perspective into the POV corner, you're already starting to think about how that document helps you answer that question. This is going to be helpful both in since statements and in your general essay writing with the mid-quarter next week, as you prepare to answer a question and have to identify where that document fits within your answer. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Thank you so much for diving in with those exemplar responses, and shout out to everybody that wrote those if you recognized your writing on there. Okay, and let me unpause. Great. I'm gonna send us over to slide 9, where we're gonna have a 90-second stop and jot answering the question, why are Americans divided over the Social Security Act? And then we will jump into discourse. 90 seconds to stop and jot in Desmos, and then we'll go into discourse. Go ahead and get started. $50 more seconds to stop and jot. Awesome starts. Mela, Kamaya, Sierra, Shakeem, Giovanni, Ashley, Skyanne, Alexis. Love the start. Merits to Alexis for already bringing in evidence from the documents into her main inquiry response. Awesome job stopping and jotting. I'm now going to make sure that we have access to all of our documents. Take 30 seconds look for a piece of evidence that supports the argument that you just shared into the Desmos. So take 30 seconds, identify a piece of evidence, so that way you're ready with evidence when we come in for cold calling. Ten more seconds to find that evidence. Make sure you're writing in Desmos so that way you have something to refer back to if you are cold called. Great. Jumping into discourse, can I hear from Alexis, and then Sierra, and then Giovanni? Alexis, Sierra, Giovanni.
I said some are divided by the Social Security Act because it only helps certain number of people, like in document 4. It explains how there's an entire burden of old age for workers, while young employees are allowed to work.
I agree with Alexis, and I said that, hold on. I said that the Americans were divided over the Social Security Act because it didn't benefit to everyone. And evidence that supports this is in document 2, where it basically like talks about how like it didn't support like Black people or women.
I also agree because many thought that the Social Security Act would protect them, while others thought that it would hinder them more. An example of this was in, I think, document 3, when an anonymous woman wrote a letter to the First Lady and was basically saying how she had some savings, but she was unsure of how it would turn out since this Social Security Act has been passed.
Awesome. Giovanni, why do you think she chose to write a letter to Eleanor Roosevelt?
I'm not really sure, but I don't think that FDR would have actually looked at it, to be honest.
Awesome, that's a really good start. Let me go ahead and have somebody jump in. Why do you think she would have chosen to write to Eleanor Roosevelt? Awesome, Kamaya, can you jump in with what you shared in the chat?
She wrote it to her so she can convince her husband to stop the act.
Awesome. Speaking of the husband, we haven't talked about document 1, obviously because document 1 supports the Social Security Act. Why did FDR support the Social Security Act? Why did he think it was a good idea? Take 15 seconds to think on it. Kamaya, go ahead and jump in.
Because for starters, he made it, so of course he's going to support it. And then he believed that it'll up the U.S. economic structure and lessen the likelihood of another depression starting.
Interesting. Based off of what we know about the Great Depression, does the Social Security Act work? Yes or no in the chat. Does the Social Security Act do everything that it promised to do? Thinking back to our lecture on Monday. Awesome, thank you, Giovanni. Awesome. Thank you, Kamaya, for revoicing through chat. Awesome. Yeah, it doesn't do everything. So these concerns are valid. Which concern do you think is the most valid? Which concern do you think is the most valid and you agree with the most? Can I hear from Shakeem and Mela? Can you share your opinion in the chat?
Insane. Probably an argument. Like, I think that they're concerned that the old pensions would have to be taken out of like their earnings. It's also said not before. Like there wouldn't be any government contributions, so they were probably worried that the young workers and consumers would have to be basically funding this because the government wasn't going to.
And that's a concern that still lives with us today. Like there is still a generational divide over who is bearing the brunt of the Social Security Act. Mela said African-American sharecroppers and cash farmers cannot be taxed, so they can't gain any type of protection from this. Absolutely somebody that should be very concerned about the Social Security Act. So with this knowledge of the Social Security Act and why people aren't totally sold on it, we have to decide, is the New Deal doing everything that it wanted to? And we're going to talk about that more tomorrow, is the controversy surrounding the New Deal, if it did what it was supposed to, and the type of impacts that it's going to have on American life. So just to pre-frame, that is it tomorrow. That is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. Again, for anybody that might have joined late, your mid-quarter exam is going to be on Monday. A study guide will be going live at 10 a.m. that has about 10 key terms that you just need to define. If you complete the study guide, you will be getting extra credit on your mid-quarter exam. I just want to make sure everybody knows this. And you can also use it while taking the exam. I am going to go ahead and open up the exit ticket. Today, you're going to be writing a contextualization and a thesis statement to prepare for tomorrow and make sure we're practicing contextualization. Remember, contextualization should have 2 to 3 key terms defined to set up the story of what is going on. And I'll be giving us feedback. I'll be looking at these for feedback before tomorrow's class. Okay, go ahead and move on to slide 10, which is the exit ticket. Once you complete both the exit ticket and submit on Google Classroom, you will be free to go, but not before then. Let me know if you have any questions. Go ahead and get started. Awesome starts on your contextualization statements, everybody. Make sure that your contextualization statement isn't just the 2 to 3 key terms, but you're actually writing it out into full sentences. Oh, I apologize, you guys. I just realized that I don't have the main inquiry prompt in the actual Desmos. You're answering the main inquiry, why were Americans divided over the Social Security Act in 1935? I'm posting that question in the Zoom chat as well. So you're writing a thesis statement in response to that question and contextualization for that question. You have about 5 more minutes left. As a reminder, your contextualization should be 2 to 3 key terms fully defined, setting up the story of the Great Depression, and your thesis is answering the question. Awesome. Thank you, Giovanni. You're free to go. Thank you, Shakeem. You're free to go. I'm just making sure everybody answered both questions. Again, make sure you're responding in the exit ticket. Sorry, Samaj, I didn't mean to hit that button. Thanks, Kamaya. Once you click turn in on Google Classroom, you're free to go.